always win. Champion. You are the awesome Yah. And there is none like you. With you, you're our champion. With you, we can lose. We always win. Champion. You are the awesome God. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome God. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome Yah. And there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. You are the awesome Yah. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. As we stand before you this Sabbath day, a day of celebration, commemoration, a day of rest, a rest that He's given unto us as we come together this great rising, this great day to have class. We want to begin by doing the Baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Who
universe.
selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us His Torah of truth.
And gave us His Torah of truth.
Baruch atah.
the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
our Supreme One,
our Supreme One,
King of the universe,
King of the
who
universe,
gave us the Torah
who gave us the Torah
of truth
of truth
and implanted eternal life
and implanted eternal life
within us.
within us.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
giver of the Torah,
giver of the Torah.
and it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we will have a reading of the commandments by Apostle Brown. Chapter 5, verses 6 through 21 from the book of Devarim. And it is so.
It is so.
Aleph, I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Mizraim, from the bed of slavery. Bet, you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the main beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them or serve them, for I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalet, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mizraim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, honor your Abba and your Ema as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Het, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. Yud, neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoke unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more, and wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Now we will be coming from the book of Yahushua, the son of Nun, chapter 1, verses 7 and 8. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to the Torah, which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Speak with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah
I will not let this scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth,
depart out of my mouth,
but I shall meditate on it
but I shall meditate on it
day and night, that I may observe to do according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous,
And then I shall make my way prosperous,
and act wisely.
and act wisely,
Come on, and act wisely.
and act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And
you shall act wisely. Look at your other neighbor across the room and tell him, you shall act wisely, and you shall act wisely. Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Come on, I
endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor
to
act wisely.
act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It's important that we endeavor to act wisely every day of our lives. All right, let us have another song, please. This is the day that Yahuwah has made, that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice, is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. Torah is the way. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. Torah is the way. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. Torah is the way. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. Torah is the way. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter his courts with his praise. I will say this is the day that Yahuwah has made. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for he has made me glad. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. Yahushua is the way. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. Yahushua is the way. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. Yahushua is the way. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. Yahushua is the way. Yahushua is the way that Yahuwah has made. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. God is the way. God is the way that Yahuwah has made. Torah is the way. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in him. And be glad in him. Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in him. The Torah Torah is the way. The Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. The Torah is the way. The Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. The Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. The Torah is the way. The Torah is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will enter His with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter His courts with praise. I will praise His day that Yahuwah has made. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. I will enter His gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I will enter His courts with praise. I will say this is the day that Yahuwah has made. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. And I will rejoice, for He has made me glad. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the day. This is the day that Yahuwah has made. This is the way. This is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. This is the way. This is the way that Yahuwah has made. This is the way. This is the way that Yahuwah has made. That Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. And be glad in Him. This is the way that Yahuwah has made. I will rejoice and be glad in Him. Chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. The book of the These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it. That you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son, and your grandson, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yisrael, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is a God. Sheep Yisrael, Yahuwah is our Savior, Yahuwah is a God. And you shall love Yahuwah, your supreme one, your power with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall. To do what? To bind to the mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to be great and goodly cities which you did not build, and houses full of all good things which you filled not, and wells which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees you did not plant, when you shall have eaten and be full. Then beware lest you forget Yahuwah which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right and good in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the good land which Yahuwah swore to your eyes. And it is so.
It is so.
It is so. Let's run the song, please.
Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like David clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like David clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like David clap. Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like everything. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like everything. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like everything. Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. 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 Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they can pray. Oh yeah, we praise you. 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 Oh yeah, we praise you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Mishnah 15 and 8, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yah. But the prayer of the upright is your delight. Mishnah 3 and 4, so shall we find good understanding and high esteem in the sight of judgment of Yahuwah and man, and it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34 and 15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Acts 1 and 8, you shall receive power after that, the Ruach Kodesh is come upon you. And you shall be witnesses unto me both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Shamar and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Tehillim 1 and 1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the instructions of the doctrine of Abba Yah, and he doth meditate upon it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ibram 11 and 6, for without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. It takes belief to be our obedient, diligent discipline. Ayah 33 and 4, which is Job. The Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Micah 4 and 8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment, and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasrael his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukanan Aleph, chapter 5, verse 4 and 5. For whatsoever is born of Yahuwah overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our belief. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yahushua is the Son of Yahuwah? Yehukin and Aleph, chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. For whoever keeps his word, the Torah, truly the love of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are him. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let us have that song, please.
Let my mouth sing your praises. Let my hands do your work. Let my heart hide your word.
I'll brew you with everything. Let my spirit rise up. Let my flesh fade away. Let my life give you a sting. Pure and acceptable, you're my offering, you alone. Are the righteous King, we will join. With the angels and sing crying coded. Lay crowns at your feet. Forever we will worship you, oh yeah. In the dawn of the morning, I will lift up your name. Contemplating your goodness, how you love me in spite of myself. I look back and remember how you reached down to save me. With your mighty hand, your guidance. You are truly the agent of faith. You alone are the righteous. We will join with the angels and I know that. Forever we will worship you, you alone. Are the righteous King, we will join with the angels and sing crying coded, laying crowns at your feet. Forever we will worship you unto thee, oh yeah. We offer praise, we will magnify your name. Let all earth declare your righteousness. We will never be ashamed. You alone are the righteous King. We will join with the angels and sing crying coded, laying crowns at your feet. Forever we will worship you alone. Are the righteous King, we will join with the angels and sing crying coded, laying crowns at your feet. Forever we will worship you alone. Are the righteous King, we will join with the angels and sing crying coded, laying crowns at your feet. Forever we will worship you, oh yeah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah. We will give y'all all praise at all times. And it's so. And it is so. Devarim chapter 11, verses 13 through 22. And it shall come to pass, if you listen carefully to my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yahuwah your power, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. That I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in your corn and your wine and your oil. And I will send grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves that your heart not deceive, and you turn aside and serve other power and worship them. And then Yahuwah's wrath be ignited against you, and he shut up Shemayim that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, lest you perish quickly from off the good land which Yahuwah gives you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your bed, and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers to give them, as the days of Shemayim upon the earth. For if you shall carefully keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to love Yahuwah your power, and to walk in all his halakha, and to cling unto him. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukanan Moshiach, which is Mark 11:24, reads, Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. So, as we've come to recite our declaration, let us recite this together. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahusha,
in the name of Yahushua,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
salvation,
salvation,
and deliverance.
and deliverance.
We decree
We do
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people.
Yisrael.
Yasrael.
We unite
We unite
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief,
But the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We'll say our final confession in this portion of the time of our class. Let us bow before our King together and recite this together. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable for you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O you,
my rock
my rock,
and my redeemer.
my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O you,
my rock,
my rock,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited to him 19:15. You may be seated in his presence as we prepare to go into our studies on this great Sabbath. Every Sabbath is a day of celebration and commemoration, and it behooves us to walk in his uprightness so that every day will truly be a time of celebration and a time to smile and laugh and rejoice, and not a time of remorse and heartache and pain. It's important that we understand that we maintain our consistency with him. On today, this great day, as we are in our Torah portion, coming from Bereshit chapter 32, starting at verses 3, as we're in the chapter 35. I just want to do a brief recap of what we were talking about on last night on Yom Shishi, day 6. And our theme this week is, and he sent. And so, as Yaakov, as we read in chapter 32 and 33 and 34, we see the different things that had transpired in the life of Yaakov and his family. And we see that in the first part, when he had left from the home or from Laban, we see that at left, when he caught up with him in the chapter previous of that, chapter 32, chapter 32 and chapter 31, we see where as he left from the presence of Laban, there was supposed to be an agreement and a covenant made. But we know if you read the whole chapter and you read all of the chapters that follow, we know that Laban's actions towards Yaakov were not truthful. And we know that he is the one that basically hinted unto Esau where he would be. And so he basically stirred up some trouble so that he would be on the same path and on the same way where he was, so that he could basically take what he had. And so as we looked at the story, we see that as he went, he sent his family over in companies. And so he sent first the gift of the animals to basically appease Esau. And so from the gifts, then he sent the others, and then from there, his family, or his mishpachah, was the last to cross over. And so as he was there, when he met up with Esau, and he bowed before him because it meant reverence, not to worship because he was an elder. One of the things that I've learned and I pulled from that was that we're in a day and time that people do not respect their elders. They don't. They don't respect their elders. And I'm not talking about people that just have gray hair or of the hoary head. I'm talking about people that are older than you. Right. It's about respect. People want respect, but they don't want to give respect. You have to understand whether or not you murder a person or you believe a person is merited to be respected. It is up to you, and it is important that you understand that respect belongs to those that are your elders. Right. And so one of the things, and in spite of him desiring to kill his brother, he still respected him. Are you understanding? Even though he might have only been 2 to 3 minutes older than him, he still respected him as his elder. And so in that, it's important that we understand that respect is supposed to be given to your elders. Now, somebody may say, but you got some fools and stupid ones out there. Well, that's with every age. You got some folk in every age that are disrespectful and unlearned. So the bottom line is, though, is your position in it. Your position, my position, is whether they act like baboons or act like fools. We are still required to respect them. Respect them and get out of their way. Are you understanding me? Yes. They respect in that manner. And so after they went through and they hugged, and Yahuwah changed the mind of Esau, because Esau had come with 400 men. So that meant there was not a party. He was not coming for a party. He was not coming to celebrate him. He was coming actually to kill him. And when he realized that it was him and his family, and when they bowed before him and they came in waves, and it was Rebecca who came last, her and Joseph, and he said, who are these? What is this mishpachah? And he said, this is my family. So that lets us know, even in that questioning, that he was not expecting him to be with his family, with his mishpachah, with wives and with children. I believe he was expecting him to be with a few men, and his whole plans was to humiliate him and to kill him. But Yahuwah changed his mind in the process. So it's important that we understand. And you have to remember, Yahuwah had already told Yaakov when he got ready to go to Laban, after he had encountered Esau's son and had everything taken. You have to remember, only thing he crossed over with was a staff. But when he left from the presence of Laban, he came and he had a whole lot more than what he was taking. He had animals, and he had servants, and he had all these. And so it's important that we understand, before he had all that, Yahuwah had promised him. He said, I will make sure you are taken care of. You will not have to worry about anything. And so whenever Yahuwah gives us a promise or tells us anything, we can rest assured that he's not going to lie. He's not going to lie to us. So it is up to us to believe the words that come from him to our lives. So as he moves on, we know that he ends up going to where Shishim and the prince, Shishim, who was the prince, where they had gone. And so he found himself desiring Dinah, Yaakov's daughter. Now you have to understand, it was 12 boys and only one girl. And she was the twin of Zebulun. She was his twin. And so here it is. They get where they are, and it didn't happen overnight. They had already been there for some time. And it wasn't like she was out doing something that she had no business. She was out with the ladies, and it was just a custom to go. And the prince desired her. And so because he wanted her, he took her. And he held her captive for a while. And not only did he hold her captive, but he took her against her will. And so he desired to marry her. After he had done all that, he wanted to negotiate with the family. I want her as my wife. Please, my soul is knit to hers, and I want her. Never mind you what she wanted, and he had already violated her, did all this stuff. Excuse me. And he had already done all this stuff. So it's important that we understand what is taking place here. So after they go in, and the brothers, it was Shimron and Luai, who said, we can't have this. We're going to fix this thing. We're going to fix this. And so, once again, they use circumcision to get them weak and to grow them. Now, I know many would say that the punishment was justified. I'd say, yes, they deserve to be punished, but not using that what belongs to Yahuwah.
Right.
Circumcision is covenant, and you never use the things that Yahuwah gives unto us to try to punish somebody with. Right. And what they did, they waited, and they knew that on the third day that they would be so weak and in pain they could not defend themselves. That was a slaughter. Not only did they slaughter the men, but they slaughtered the animals, and they took the women and the children. Now you have to understand, they took boys as well. Those young men that were of age, that could be circumcised, they circumcised them and they killed them too. So they basically devastated that town, that place that they were in. Now you have to understand, once again, it grieved Yaakov, because he said, look what you've done, you brought trouble to me. Why would you do this? You have to understand, once again, they got angry with him because he didn't move in the manner that they thought he should have moved concerning what was taking place with his daughter. Now, everybody deals with heartache, hardship, pain, drama, trouble, and all that in different ways. But one thing for sure is never get ahead of people, especially if they are the ones that are in authority. Never get ahead of them, because you don't know what Yahuwah is saying to them. You don't know what the next move will be. You don't know what he's told them to execute. But when you become impatient, that's when you start doing things you have no business doing. Now, once again, they had a right to defend their sister, but not in the manner that they did so. They brought major destruction to that city. And everybody else heard it. So you have to understand, he said, now I'm going to have everybody upon me. I'm going to have the Hittites, and I'm going to have everybody ready basically to fight me and come against me because of what you all have done. So once again, you have to be careful of your actions. For every cause, there's an effect, and for every effect, there is a cause. And if we're not careful and we're not in a posture and in a mindset of prayer, we will react instead of responding. There comes a time that you are supposed to react, but then there comes a time that you have to respond. Now, like I said, me personally, yes, I would be very offended, but I'm not worried about that happening to my daughters. Not at all. And you have to understand why. Once again, preparation. I'm sure they probably didn't expect anything like that to ever happen. But sometimes you have to yet be prepared. Not sometimes, all the time. Let me correct that. You have to be prepared all the time for any given situation, because you don't never know what's going to pop up. And you should always be ready. Once again, it's important that we understand what took place. Now, them being angry and wanting to exact vengeance, yes, they were justified by that. But they were not justified with the means that they did it. Because they used, once again, the covenant. They used that which was covenant. And they knew those men would never be able to walk in true covenant. And really, they really didn't want to be in true covenant. So it was all based upon a lie and trickery. They tricked them, and it was based upon a lie. So once again, we don't have to lie and we don't have to trick people.
Right.
Either I'm going to steal you or I'm going to steal you straight to your face.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You're going to get so quick right there. And I'm not going to be doing no craziness right in front of your face. Why? Because the better man or the better woman is going to stand when it's all said and done.
That's right. That's right.
But when they did what they did, they bought disgrace and they're going to pay for it down the line. You may not get your retribution and you may not get your payment right then and there. But by and down the line, you're going to get it, especially when it goes against the things of our Yah. And so he was grieved by that. And you can understand why he was grieved by that. Because number one, they got ahead of themselves. They didn't even ask him, what should we do? They just took it upon themselves. And then this is where you began to see where there was tension brought out. In verse 31, verse 30, chapter 34. Then Yaakov said to Shimon and Luai, you have troubled me by making me loathsome among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me. I shall be destroyed, my household and I. Now, mind you, their mindset is, okay, you worried about this. Are you even concerned of how he's held our sister captive? Now, mind you, it is not like he had her for a day or two. He had her for a good length of time against her will. Because the whole time they were negotiating while they had her as a captive. Then you have to say, their whole motive was, if we marry into them, we can get what they have. You see how wealthy they are. They're so will be ours. Once again, I said this, and I said to not to be disrespectful, but I said in all truthfulness, when you get to get married, you got to make sure that whoever you marry, that you and your spouse are on the same page. You better make sure that y'all both, first and foremost, love Yahuwah. And then second of all, that you both have the same aspirations and desires. Now, you may not have the same dreams in that respect, because you may dream to be a carpenter. They may dream to be a writer. But you still need to meet here in the center. Are you understanding me? Yes. Therefore, you don't have to worry about conflicts, and you don't have to worry about certain things. Now, I'm not saying that relationships are without conflict, because if I did, I would be lying. Are you hearing me? Yes. Every good relationship is going to have conflicts, but you have to have resolution. Are you hearing me? Yeah. So once again, conflict resolution has to come in. Now, once again, they wanted to take what they had. So they said the way we'll do it is this how we'll do it. We'll strong arm them into making them become one with us. This is why you have to know your surroundings. Somebody say know your surroundings.
Know your surroundings.
Say it again, know your surroundings.
Know your surroundings.
You have to know your surroundings. Men do it and women do it just as quick. So not one of them gender things. This is whoever feel like they can get the upper hand on it.
Right.
Are you understanding me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand certain things and understand what's taking place. In verse 31 says, but they said, should he treat our sister like a harlot? Because he did. He held her captive and he violated her. And it wasn't like just one time. He just went in strong and hard. Once again, because he wanted her. And then you have to understand the result after what he did. She could never marry. So he basically ruined her life. And you have to understand, when you have ox in your life like that say, oh no, this is not going to go without being punished. It was like, because see, now our sister will never be able to marry and she will never be able to be happy because of what he's done. So you can understand their anger, and you can understand why they were so adamant about dealing with them. But they did it using the wrong method. Using the wrong method. Like I say, you can deal with folk without using the wrong method. And it is so. All right, chapter 35, and we're going to read, let's do 5 verses apiece. 5 verses apiece.
From the 7 part scriptures. And Yahuwah said to Yaakov, arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to Yahuwah, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother. And Yaakov said to his household and to all that were with him, Put away the foreign power that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Then let us arise and go up to Beth, and I will make an altar there to Yahuwah, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone. So they gave Yaakov all their foreign powers which were in their hands, and all their earrings which were in their ears, and Yaakov hid them under the terebinth tree which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of Yahuwah was upon the cities that were round about them. And they did not pursue the sons of Yaakov.
And it is so. Now look what happens. Look what he does. He stands up and he takes authority. And he gives them instructions on what they need to do after bringing. Because now, mind you, they had brought in other people. They had taken the women and the little children. Look what he says. He said, then power said to Yaakov, arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make an altar there to Power, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau, your brother. Now, let's look at the footnote for Esau. We see no rebuke from Yahuwah, showing us wisdom needs to be exercised in all matters, and we're not to give over to the enemy. That's because they take our sister and hold her against her will. Now, once again, you have to understand, everything Yahuwah does, he always does with excellence.
That's right.
You have to understand, he always gets us from point A to point C. Then he deals with us. See, because you have to understand, he is like no other. He knows how to get you right after you've done what you've done. But then you have to understand, he's compassionate and he's patient, and he understands that we are but dust. We are a vapor, here today and gone tomorrow. Are you understanding me? He understands our weaknesses and our faults. And that's what an Abba does. He knows how to deal with his children. So he didn't get them right off. He had to do what he had to do to get them from point A to point C. Now look what it says. And Yaakov said to his household and all who were with him, put away the foreign power that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Now he's giving them instructions because look at what they had just done. Now you have to understand, that's a lot of blood to be shed. That's a lot of blood. Not only did they have to change their physical clothes, but they also had to change right here. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Now, Yaakov connects his family issues and trials with perhaps someone holding on to false deities in the Mishpachah. He was right because Raquel was still carrying God, the deity of Assyria. So he says to put away all false power. You have to understand, whatever we believe in and who we believe in determines how and what we're going to do and how we're going to respond and how we're going to react. Because you have to understand, now they are young men and they are still going under, to a degree, the teaching of their imam. You understand?
Yes.
So now, here once again, you have to look at what's going on. They were following, they were doing. And those that they just picked up from Shechem, they were following in idol worship. So now that they are a part of this caravan, are you understanding me?
Yes.
There were changes that had to be made. And this is important and very important for us. Also, I believe all of the writings are very good, but this in particular, because a lot of time people want to join up with people and don't realize, though, in your joining, if there are certain things that's in your life that shouldn't be there, and you're instructed to get rid of it, don't get offended, because you have to get rid of those things so that you can become a part, so you can receive the Baruch of Yahuwah on your life.
Right.
Because if you're doing something wrong, then you need to be corrected. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
See, because they could have left them there and they wouldn't have had anything. So you have to understand, it was better to be a slave and be with somebody than to be out there by yourself and can't fend for yourself.
Right.
So they took it upon themselves to gather them. And you have to understand, they made slaves of them. They didn't marry them. They didn't marry them because Yahuwah didn't then, and he does not now agree with mixed marriages. He does not. Now he tells them, purify yourselves and change your garments. That means take off those clothes that you worship the idols in. Take that stuff off. In other words, it's time to renew your lifestyle, because this what we've done, we will not repeat again. Are you understanding me? Yes. Instruction. If he didn't love us, he wouldn't give us instruction. instructions. If he didn't love, he would not put people in our lives that would help us. Hey, you got to check this. You got to change this. Are you understanding?
Yes.
This is one of the things, once again, we as a people have to learn to take instructions, and then we have to be able to turn to accept when we are being corrected. I didn't say creative criticism, because I don't believe in criticizing people. I believe in correcting you. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If I'm wrong, then I'll be corrected by the right people. Everybody can correct me. And I'm not saying that to be haughty. But I am saying, if you are not where I am, you can't correct me. And that's truth. Why? Because if you're not where I am, then how you going to correct me? How you know I'm right and how you know I'm wrong? You can't do that. Now understand what I'm saying. Once again, because people have the tendency to try to come and correct folk that they're not even in their lead or lead. You are a teacher, or you are one who is learned in the Torah and learned in certain things, and you know more, then you would be able to know how to do it. You would know how to intelligently, in wisdom, correct somebody. I remember a time when I had to, early in the morning, about 3-something in the morning, and I was up and I was reading, and I don't really be on Facebook that much. Even though my icon is always on, I leave it on because I'm always, if I get a message, I may not get it right then and there. I may not get it, but it's on there until I'm able to get it. But I saw something, and I know Yahuwah told me, he said, go look. And I went in, and I saw something that was not right. And another leader had done it. And when they were saying things that they should not have said, and I was like, if you are a leader, you have to watch your mouth. And so I didn't go openly and blast them on their page, openly, on their timeline. I did just like Yahuwah told me, send them a message. And I sent them a message, and I said, if you need to vent, remember, I'll be here to be your vent. I'll be here to be for you to vent. But don't vent to the babies, because you're venting to the wrong people. You're trying to bring people in, but at the same time, you're venting to babies that don't know how to do anything with that. Then you stir people up in a panic. Wisdom has always got to be the key. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because you have to understand, what goes out of our mouths can never come back.
That's right.
It's going to stick somewhere, and it's going to manifest in its due time, the due season. It's a seed. That's why we have to be careful of the words that proceed out of our mouths.
That's right.
And so you have to be careful. And so he's giving them a charge. So as they prepare to move forward, everybody will be what? Doing and acting and on the same page. Same way. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Verse 3. Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to Power, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone. He acknowledges he's been with him. He acknowledges that Yahuwah has always been there. Note the way. This is Torah instructions that Yahusha said, also, I am the way, in Yehukanan 14:6. Once again, it's important you understand when you are given instructions, just follow those instructions.
That's right.
Are you understanding?
Yes.
All right. Now, once again, let us look here. Like I said, I know sometimes it's a hard pill for many people to swallow, because especially when you coming out of Christianity, ain't nobody going to be over me. Ain't nobody going to do this because I've already been in that. And he said no man would have to teach his neighbor. He said no man would have to teach his neighbor. He didn't say nothing about no teacher. Are you understanding me? Teachers or mystical, the moras or more, those were put in position to instruct, even the prophets, to instruct and guide and bring correction, order back, and bring order to where chaos was and still is.
That's right.
And it can't be done, though, if people don't follow instructions. Once again, you're talking about people coming. Now, this is where it's important that we understand. They didn't bring them along to be their equals. They brought them along because they were going to be their slaves.
That's right.
Are you understanding me? And they didn't mistreat them. They treated them just like you would treat a slave. And I ain't talking about the way we've seen it, as our people were wrongfully done. That's not slavery. That's something greater and beyond slavery. That's mistreatment. That's treating a person less than human.
That's right.
See, they understood, no, you are a slave, and what's going to end up happening, you're going to be my servant. You're going to serve me, you and your children, all the days of your life. You're going to be my hands. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Are you understanding me? That's what they brought in for. They were not sizing them up to marry them.
That's right.
Because if that was the case, then guess what? What the men sought to do that was not done through the men, it would have still ended up being accomplished through the women. You marry me, I marry your daughter, and this, I still get your wealth. Even though my husband ain't here and I have a son, he still gets a portion of the wealth that his father was trying to get him through marrying your daughters. Or our sons marrying your daughters. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So once again, we have to understand that wasn't for them. Now, so they gave Yaakov all the foreign power which were in their hands, and all their earrings which were in their ears, and Yaakov hid them under the terebinth tree, which was by Shechem. Let's look at this footnote. They were wearing crescent earrings. This was the common custom at the moon deity. As the moon deity had its center in Haran, a major crossroads. The custom amongst the moon worshippers was also that they had these things around their animals. So they had them around the animals and they had them in their ears. That's why certain things we ought to not wear, especially if we don't know the history of it. Crescent moons and the crescent moon and the stars and even the tree, which in South Carolina is its emblem. Yeah, the crescent moon, I believe it's the palm tree and the stars. All that stuff is in witchcraft and into moon worship. And so people say, well, I like it because I just like it. You know, no, you have to understand its origin. And this was steeped in idol worship. So he had to make sure that when they prepared to go in, that they had to go in with the right mindset and in the right manner. And it is so. And it is so. Nothing bursted in. And they journeyed, and the terror of power was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Yaakov. Now, once again, if he had not obeyed Yahuwah and the people had not obeyed what he had told them, that meant that those people were going to pursue them, and they were going to take them over. Once again, you have to understand, anytime word gets out that a person or people have done a thing, you're going to always have those that rise up and say, well, we'll take it out because they ain't going to do it again. But when Yahuwah puts his terror in the heart of a people, they can't touch you even if they want to. No matter what they do, they can't even pay people to touch you. They can't do it. Now, what it says here, Yahuwah protected Yaakov and his household because their actions were justified. Once again, it's important that we understand what actions were justified. Them getting rid of their idols. Once again, let us not forget, do not ever use anything that is that was given to us to set us apart from everybody else as a means to take down somebody or to maim them. Because when you do, you step out of his protection and his guidance for your life.
That's right.
Because they what they did was wrong. There is no justifying using being circumcised as a means to deal with somebody. You can't justify that.
That's right.
That's right.
There's no way you can. And especially grown men. So once again, let us please remember that. All right, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, please.
So Yaakov came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there power appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. Now Nebadiah, Rivka's sister, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of it was called Alan Bahuth. Then power appeared to Yaakov again when he came from Paddan Aram, and Baruch him. And power said to him, your name is Yaakov. Your name shall not be Yaakov anymore, but Yasarel shall be your name. So he called his name Yasarel, and it is so.
And it is so. Now we know up in chapter, I think it is 30, it's 35. Let me go back to 34. I think it's in 31. Where he had told him in verse 27 of chapter 32. So he said to him, what is your name? And he said, Yaakov. And he said, your name will no longer be Yaakov, but Yisrael, for you have struggled with power and with men and have prevailed. So he's showing us that the name change was already set in motion, but it did not take effect until in chapter 35. Are we understanding?
Yes.
Chapter 35, let's look at that again. Excuse me. Chapter 35, and verse 10. And Paul said to him, your name is Yaakov. Your name shall not be called Yaakov anymore, but Yisrael shall be your name. So he called his name Yisrael. You have to understand what happened between that time and the time where he is. You have to understand everything that took place, because remember, he said, no longer will you be called a name. In other words, he was changing his character. He was not just changing his name, but he was also changing his character. You have to understand there were certain things that I believe that helped to solidify his name change. One, he didn't agree with what his sons did. Now, you have to understand, he never endorsed what they did. Never did he endorse it. And he was angry with them behind it. When it came time for them to travel, he didn't leave the women and the babies helpless. He took them in, but he gave them a prerequisite, and he spoke that way Yahuwah told him to speak. And so this is why his name was able to be, he was able to have his name branded to him and it stick with him. Because he followed the instructions of our God. And his character, guess what? Matured into his name. So it's important that we understand his name did not change immediately. It was right after these situations, but it was already spoken, but it didn't change till after he had gone through these things. That's why, once again, as I said, even on last night, when we change our names, because I would love to have mine changed, and I'm going to, but I will not change my name until Yahuwah gives me the right name that suits me and that fits my lifestyle. Are you understanding? Yes, I am a Torah believer, but it is he that will give it to me. Why? Because he's the one that knows the character and knows the fit, the name that will fit me, or my life that will fit the name that he gives me. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand, sometimes people want to call themselves warriors and call themselves kings, and they don't fit the character doesn't fit them. They don't. Whatever he calls me, that's what I want. See, because when he changes your name, that's not something you do. He does it. He changes it based upon your destiny and based upon the character that he's bringing you into. Are you hearing me? So it's important that we understand that. I had a couple of names that I liked, and I said, oh, I want to be this. I said, but I can't change my name until you give me the right name. Because then you be running around and you be stealing somebody trying to steal my identity. That's what it's really called, identity thief. And I don't want to do that. I want the name that he would give to me. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
I love the different names. But once again, he's the one that names us. And when he names us, it's a name that sticks and fits. And nobody can take that away from me. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Now, he said, and so your name should be called Yisrael. Verse 11, also power said to him, I am El Shaddai. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body. Once again, look at what he's saying to him after his name changed. He begins to tell him now that it's not just going to be like the sands of the sea or the dust of the earth or the stars of the Shemayim, but he gives him specific now. He shows him what these people will look like, the caliber of the people that will come from him. He said, now be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body. Once again, now he's giving a descriptive of who is going to come from his body. Are you understanding me? Once again, you understand that's one thing that I've learned in the writings about Yahuwah, is that he always sets us up for what he's getting ready to do, and he will always make it clear. He will never leave us in the dark. He will never leave us confused. He will always bring into a place of clarity and understanding. Are you understanding me? The only person that brings confusion is Shaitan.
That's right.
It's Shaitan. Rabbi Shaul said, I will not have you ignorant concerning his devices. You have to understand he's a very divisive deity. Anywhere he can get in to cause problems and trouble, he will do it. And this is why we should never underestimate what he's capable of doing.
That's right.
When you take something and say, oh, that ain't that bad, you know, it ain't really that bad, you know. It just was a little tiny lie. Oh, you know, that what I did, it couldn't hurt nobody. You don't know who it hurt, and you don't know how you're going to use it in order to confuse or manipulate people. That's why before we proceed, before we do anything, we ought to pray and ask him to order our footsteps. Acknowledge him in all our ways so that he can direct our path. So that we don't find ourselves out doing things we have no business. Now let's look at the footnote for El Shaddai, be fruitful and multiply, and a company of nations. One, in the writings, El Shaddai means the powerful breast that feeds and nourishes. Power has qualities of both the Abba and the Ema, and references Yashayah 60 and 16. Now, you have to understand what it says, qualities. So you have to understand power is not feminine. Are you understanding me? Yes. Neither is it endorsing that power has breast. Y'all, please follow me. Because in Christianity, we call him the multi-breasted one. Breasts are what are, it helps to nurture and to sustain. Are you hearing me? Yes. Follow me, please. Lift your mind. And so when we understand the expression or his qualities does not make him feminine. It is a quality. So they use that to show what he's capable of doing. Are you understanding me? The writing said that a man should love his wife even as Yahushua loves the congregation himself for it. Are you understanding me? Yes. So it's important that we see the qualities and we see the references and we see the analogies that are made to show the love and to show what he's able to do. Once again, men do not have breast, but they can have the qualities to nurture because they are able to love and be compassionate and be as the apple. Are you understanding me? Does that make sense? Yes. It's important that we understand that. Why? Because you have so many people that take him, and I can't, what is the name of the deity? I know it's Asherah and Balaam, but what is the name of the one that they call multi-breasted? Sheba. Thank you. Sheba is the one, if you ever look her up, she is the one with the hands, and she has about 12 rows of breasts. I'm telling you, if you do, and I'm not trying to be vulgar, but she is. If you look her up, she is a deity, and she has 12 rows of breasts. And this is why a lot of times we have to be careful, even in our analogy, and trying to call him certain things. Once again, it is not saying he has this. It says the qualities that say you are a nurturer. Because you have a lot of Ak out there that have to learn how to nurture because they are single papas. Are you understanding me? And to nurture means that you have to be able to have qualities that say, I know how to feed a baby. Are you understanding me? And don't have any breasts. Are you following me? Yes. I'm able to feed that baby and yet be a male and not be feminine. Are you understanding me? But I'm able to do what I need to do as a single papa to take care of my baby. Now understand, that doesn't mean you have to have qualities of a woman to take care of a child. Because you got a lot of women that can't take care of children. Because they do not know how to nurture. Are you understanding me? They don't know how to. Now I'm going to have to go here with this one. Anybody seen Proud Mary? Proud Mary is an example. She was tough, rough, and boy, you didn't want to mess with her. You didn't. But in all of that, what she was doing, she still was a nurturer. She was an assassin, and she was bad. I ain't going to give up the movie for those who haven't seen it. But she was a nurturer. She knew how to nurture. And in spite of her job, of what she was doing, she still understood and had the qualities to nurture a young boy. Good, getting ready to be a young man. Are you understanding? Yes. So she understood what it meant. But then you have those that don't know how to. They don't. And that's why they prefer to just go than to try to do what they don't want to do and what's not in them to do. And I can say this. Do I agree with it? No, but I do commend them because it's better. And I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about it's better to give them to somebody that will take care of them and treat them right than you keep them and mistreat them.
That's right.
Because don't nobody want to be with anybody that mistreats them. And this is where I come. I don't care what color, when it's a baby, what culture, they're innocent. Now, when I say innocent, let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying they're innocent to me, but they're still sinners in the eyes of Yahuwah. Because they're born in sin, shaping in iniquity. But they have not yet grown to do any harm just yet. But it's in them to do so. If they are not corrected and changed, it is in them to do so if they do not get the proper and right teaching and nurturing.
Right.
Are you understanding?
Yes.
But if they don't, they can be some of the horriblest things in the world. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
So once again, it's important, but let us understand once again, it is the qualities of him that he's able to nurture, and at the same time, he's still able to kill and to destroy. He's powerful. You understand me?
Yes.
And our understanding of him is still very limited. Don't ever think that you've got the drop to where you know anything about him, because even the little bit that we know is still not enough to define him.
That's right.
It's not enough. So never ever get beyond yourself and think, oh, I don't know. That what we do know, we cherish and we relish.
Right.
But once again, it's always qualities. The Catholics have a book talking about the feminine side of God, and we know he's not God. Are you understanding?
Yes.
He has qualities, and those qualities help him to nurture us. And then you have to understand, he has the Ruach HaKodesh, who is feminine, and she knows how to nurture. Are we understanding?
Yes.
All right. Yahuwah here nullifies the oath that Yaakov made with Laban in Bereshit 32 and 50. The one not to take on more wives by instructing Yaakov. Now watch this. Now I want to read this and I want to show you something. By instructing Yaakov, go beget more children if need be. But we can see this was fulfilled in Yaakov's children. Once again, what he is saying is that when the name changed, and Laban was saying, take care of my daughters and don't bring anybody else in. Now, what the interpreter here is saying, that when Yahuwah changed his name, he changed it because he didn't want him to fall into that pattern. First and foremost, we should never try to twist the words of Yahuwah.
Right.
Because Yahuwah, once again, never endorsed polygamy. He was only to be there for a short while. And the only reason why he had to stay longer was because when he went there, he had nothing to give because it was taken from him. Then he was tricked. We read it when he sat and talked with Laban. Laban never said, our custom is that you have to marry the older daughter first. He never said that. Then he never said that if you marry one, I'm going to give you the other, but you're still going to have to work for it. Once again, that's trickery. He didn't give him a choice. He basically threw him into that position. And when it's all said and done, as you continue to read, you will see that he still, in spite of all that, did not treat Leah right. He did not, because he did not love her, even though she was his first wife. So in the end, she was the one who ended up getting the bad end, getting the short end of the stick. Because you get married to a man that don't want you. But he's with you. Why? Because situations has thrust him into your life. This is how a lot of times people marry when, I would even equate this to when men marry young ladies that are pregnant. Because they say, well, we got to be together because we got to raise a child. Don't ever marry somebody just because you're trying to make a family. Because if you do, you will be unhappy for the rest of your life. Are you understanding? Because you're only marrying based upon and out of circumstances or situations. If that person don't love you, and they're just saying, well, we got to be a family, and it's all is crazy though. When situations like that happen, sometimes the first thing that happens is they start having troubles. Right, that baby is about born. That's when trouble start coming in. Now, I don't even know her. You didn't know her when you slept with her. You didn't know him when you slept with him, but you thought you did. One night stands can cause you a lifetime of pain. Are y'all hearing me today?
Yes.
This is why it's important that you make sure that who you're going to marry, you know them. You can only know so much about them. It takes forever to really get to know a person. Because the more you mature, you see changes. The more you know a person, that's how you know them. You don't know a person until you live with them.
Right.
You don't know a person until you live with them. And so it's important that we understand certain things. Once again, you don't marry a person out of you don't marry a person because basically I want to take care of you and I'm just going to marry you, but there's really no love there. And the baby needs the last name, or the baby needs an Abba, or because she's pregnant, you are going to marry her. I understand in the days, even when I was a little girl and beyond, they would make people marry if you got them pregnant, because technically, if you sleep with somebody, that's your wife, and you had to marry them. So they make sure they got that out of people's system real quick. You know how they talk about the one hit quitter. No, they ain't gonna be this. Ain't gonna be no wham bam, thank you, ma'am, go on. If it was ever found out, especially in them old churches, especially with them old aunties and them old mothers. Oh no, if you got caught and you were sleeping with that person and they came up pregnant, oh no, y'all gonna pass, y'all get married, y'all already acting married, so you're gonna go ahead and do it. You're going to officially do it. And they made them get married. This is why they kept a lot of that stuff and cut a lot of that stuff out, because they said, no, I'll teach you how not to do what you're doing. Why? Because if you sleep with them, you marry them. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
That's why it's important that we understand there are certain things you just don't do.
Right.
Now, a lot of times we do things out of ignorance, but even then, still, we do a lot of things in ignorance and out of foolishness. So I thank our Yah for mercy that covers us. And when we repent, he covers us. But once again, that is no reason for people to get married. Now, I would say that if you love one another and you do want to get married, then get married. But don't put the cart before the horse.
That's right.
Right.
Because then that's when all kind of crazy stuff starts happening. And then that's when people say, oh, you just married because you're pregnant. You just married because you're about to have a baby. You about to do this, about to do that, blah, 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 blah. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Most of the time, when people do, they do love each other. Sometimes. And then sometimes they don't. But at the same time, you know who you love and you know who you're with. And once again, you don't want to make that choice with that decision. Are you hearing me? And once again, Laban tricked him. He tricked him. There's no way to justify tricking him, because he knew what was going on. But once again, when you are at a disadvantage, and he was at the disadvantage because he had nothing but a staff in his hand. And you start thinking, wait, when your papa came and got your mama, they had a whole lot of stuff. What happened to you? And I believe he went into detail. You know, like you sit and talk to somebody you love, elder, your great aunt, your great uncle, whoever you're going to be with for them few days or what have you, and you go and it end up seeming like sometime a lifetime that you've been there, and you get to tell them certain things, and now there's certain things they know, and if they ain't on the up and up and they ain't right, they'll try to use that against you. And then they go back and talk to them. Yeah, I heard the reason they hit, because such happened. Yeah, child, so, and blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, now, all this stuff is over your head. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So once again, this was something that Laban put him in. Are you here?
Yes.
All right. Now, here we see the first clear prophecy of the two houses of Yasrael, Yehuda, and Yasrael. The 10 tribes of Yasrael were to become many Gentile nations as they did later in history. Now you have to understand why this would be so, and why this would be the case. Are you hearing me? And the reason this would be the case is because, number one, because we were scattered to the four extremes, we became a nation of people without a name. So instead of having a name, we began to have a title. Black. A description, but not a name. So therefore, with the description and not a name, we were stripped of our identity, our culture, and everything. So we became what? A Gentile nation. Why? Because we got absorbed into other cultures. Their cultures became our culture. Their way of life became our way of life. Their eating habits became our eating habits. Their dress became our way of dressing. Their way of learning became our way of learning. Their way of assessing things and handling things handling it. We put aside we put aside things. Why? Because those things were basically bred our ancestors and forefathers. So we end up having to take on the culture way that we were basically absorbed in. I told you, just like if you look at mercury and in little, I don't know if they still make the little, what you call them, the little, oh my goodness, the motors, not motors. When you put them in the fuses. Old fuses with glass with little silver tips on the end, and it had the little line in it, and it had mercury in it. The little fuses. Now they have fuses that are different now, and you can still buy these fuses. The little fuse with the mercury in it. What were those called? Were they called a different thing, or they just were fuses? Yeah, the little mercury fuses. You know, the little bitty ones look like little tubes with the glass and the little wire in it had mercury in it. And you can find them in TVs, old beat up TVs. You can find them in other stuff. Radio tubes, and they were in other things. But they were small, like this. I wish I had one. And they had the little silver ends on the little silver tips on the end, and they had a little silver line in there. But in it, it had about maybe half an ounce of mercury in it. And what we would do, didn't know any better, as children, we would get them together. We would take them, because if you put them together, you can see that mercury is always trying to get you. It's alive. It really is, because you can take a bigger piece and you can hold it in something and you can move the rest of the pieces all over the board because it is attracted to itself. And so what we do is take that mercury out of the smaller fuses and we put it all together and make a big old pile of mercury. Why? Because that's what it was meant to be together. So we would do that. Didn't realize it was poisonous crap. He takes care of foods, that's for sure. Even when we ain't walking the truth, he would take care of our food. But we would look at those things and we would just be amazed at how no matter what and no matter where you put it, it could be one at this corner, and if it gets close enough, it begins to roll to it because it's like it's liquid and it's like it's alive. When I tell you, it's the craziest, but to me, the most phenomenal thing you could ever see. Because no matter how much you separate it, if you don't get it away far enough, it's going to come right back together and make a whole puddle once again. And it looks like it's wet, and it just looks like you can just do all kind of stuff with it. But once again, it's poison to death. It'll kill you to death. Excuse me. And so once again, we were separated. And that's what happened to us. I look at us as being like that, taken out of the whole lump and placed here, there, and everywhere. And so we were used for things that we shouldn't have been used for, but once again, under the curse of Deuteronomy chapter 28. So once again, these are things that we are to remember. How do we get where we are? Because of disobedience. How do we get out of that? Because of obedience to all that he's commanded us to do. Are we understanding?
Yeah.
So once again, it is important that we understand we were those Gentiles because we had no name. We were that one that was separated from the body. But now he's made an allowance and made an open door for us to be grafted back in to the body through Yahushua, our Mashiach. This is why it's important that we know who we are, so we know why he's done what he's done and why he is bringing us back into his body. And it is so. And it is so. All right, let's read, please. Let's read all the way 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
The land which I gave Abraham, and yes, I give to you, and to your descendants after I give you this land. Then power went out from him in the place where he talked with them. So Jacob set a pillar in the place where he talked with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And Jacob called the name of the place where power spoke with him, Beth-el. Then they journeyed from Beth-el, and when they were But when there was but a little distance to go to Ephraim, Rachel labored in childbirth, and she had hard labor. Now it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, you will have this son also." And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Once again, we see. Now we look where in verse 14, Yaakov set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. Now, once again, he was not worshiping the stone, as many people do. They have stone pets and they have stone this, and they do these things, and that's not what he did it for. Yaakov anointed a stone altar with oil and wine to praise Yahuwah appearing, but did not believe that the stone was Yahuwah. While many people today worship and anoint stones and give them the quality and attributes of power, once again, that's foolishness. It's like how you see people do, which is, even though it's really not in that, you know how people think they doing, I'm gonna pour a drink out, a drink offering out for my boy, and I'm gonna pour it on his grave, and actually, you doing that because you're saying I'm doing this in remembrance of them, which once again, you're not supposed to do that. They pour out drink offerings and do all kind of stuff like that around the grave. If you've ever seen, especially those that are in gangs and stuff, but when a gang member dies and they will close, they'll go to the grave site. Most time they don't go to the funeral, but they'll go to the grave site and they all sit there and they may have some, what is the term for it today? Some weed. We used to call it weed back then. Was it cannabis? Cannabis. They have that and they stand around and they, they puff, pass, and then they had a drink. Everybody take a drink off from whatever it was, gin, brandy, vodka, whatever, and take a sip. And then once they did, they held it up and then they poured it out for him for his last drink and their last gathering at his gravesite. Once again, why? Because that's what their homie, that was their boy or their girl. So that's what they did. And once again, they get these things from the writings. And it is so. All right. Now, let's look once again. And Yaakov called the name of the place where power spoke with him, Beth-el. Then they journeyed from Beth-el and went there, and there was but a distance to go to Ephrath. Now, this is what happened. And like I say, it's ancient name of Bethlehem. It's the ancient name of Bethlehem. Now, we go and we read, and it says, and Rachel labored in childbirth, and she had hard labor. 9 times out of 10, that baby probably was crossways in her. Whenever you hear somebody say hard labor, that's what you would consider hard labor, a breech labor. And remember, they didn't have ways to do certain procedures. They could deliver babies, but then when it came down to hard stuff like cesareans and all that stuff, I believe if they were in the right place, they probably could have. But remember, they were on their way and they never made it. And so when she went into labor, there was probably no one there that was skilled enough to help her turn that baby. Crazy things I've heard and seen when people have breech babies. They tell you get on your knees and get on your knees like a dog, kind of sit with your stomach hang, and that baby will flip. Yeah, there are ways to flip a baby, trust me. But because there was nobody there, but the thing of it is, you have to look at this story. What makes it emotional, and then what lets you allow that lets you know that he really did love Yahuwah. The love of his life died in childbirth on their way to a place which probably could have helped her deliver that baby and live. You have to understand there are things that we have to accept that Yahuwah puts before us that may not always go with what we want. You hear me? May not always go with the flow, may not always go with what we want. But when you love him and you trust him, you accept it. Are you hearing me? Yes. And so here it is, the love of his life, the one he worked 14 years for. 14, not 7, 14. Because the first 7 years he thought he was getting them. And the second 7 years he worked. And he said, it's but a day. Now, mind you, she was getting older, but it didn't deter him because he loved her. married her. Then it took them a good minute before she could have any children. So you can imagine what his heart probably felt like, but he did not, hear me well, he did not turn against Yahuwah, and neither was he disgruntled and angry with him. Now you can't tell me that he was not following in the character of his name.
That's right.
That's why, once again, you can't grab a name if you ain't ready to walk in the path that name holds for you.
Come on.
Everybody want to be this, be that. You sure you ready to be that? You better know, make sure that he gives you that name and you don't just grab one, because you be to grab the name that you are not qualified to walk in. And then you won't be able to fit the bill, you won't be able to hold it. But he didn't let go. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
So once again, we have to understand there are times in our lives that things, though we feel like this is going to be it, you know, we're finally getting out of all this craziness, we're just a few feet away from that place, and then change comes. We got to accept what he puts in our path. Don't always like it, but it is what it is. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because that's when you love him. When you love him, you do what you got to do to maintain that relationship with him. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right. Now, once again, now it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, you will have this son also." Now you have to understand, how did she know she was having a boy? The only way she knew she was having a boy is because he had to be breached. His bottom had to come out first. And you have to understand, when a baby comes out, the bottom come out first, the arms are left up like this. So you got to go and I'm just giving you a scenario. Are you understanding me? That means you have to take and mash the baby's arms. That's a lot of pain. That's a lot of pain, because you got to get that baby to where you can bring it out. But once again, when a baby is breached, it comes out bottom first. And when it comes out bottom first, that's how you can tell. And that's how I'm persuaded she knew that she was going to have a boy. But in that, his arms 9 times out of 10 got caught like this. So she had to go in and mash his arms down, mash the other one down. And because of the pain, that's enough to kill him. And it did. It overwhelmed her. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So once again, it's important that we understand different things that happen. Sometimes we don't see these things in their true perspective. But thank Abiyah for his mercy. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now, verse 18 says, "And so it was as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni. But his father called him Benjamin." Now you have to understand, once again, here it is. Let's go back just a few passages where he said, "Put away the idols, put away all these things, get rid of them." Remember, when she left, she had an idol. And it does not say that she got rid of it up until this portion here. So she held on to that. And she held on to it until she was required and commanded to get rid of it. Listen what she was going to name him. "Son of my strength," in that her entire strength was spent having the child. All of her strength was spent on having that baby. But he said, "I'm going to call him son of my right, or son of the south of Yaakov, traveling down south. Another rendering would be son of my right hand. Benjamin means son of my right hand. So once again, you have to understand, what does the right side represent? It represents esteem. It represents esteem. So he was the son, the baby boy of the woman that he loved with all of his heart. And so he would be the closest one to him. And as we've read and we will read again, we will see that he held him dear to him. Do you understand? All right. All right, let's finish reading. All right, Benjamin. Now let's see. Let's look at verse 18. I want to read this. Okay, we read that, but no. All right, let's read.
So Raquel died and was buried on the way to Hebron. And Yaakov set a pillar on her grave, which is the pillar of Raquel's grave to this day. Yasharel journeyed and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder. And it happened, when Yasharel dwelt in the land, that that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Yashrael heard about it. Now the sons of Yaakov were 12. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Yaakov, Echor, and Shimei. Luai, Yehuda, Yashakar, Zebulun, and Issachar.
Now, once again, let's look at what happens. We only see that he did this. Now, you have to understand why he did what he did. Do I justify it? Absolutely not. I will never justify that. But you have to understand, here it is, Reuben, who had been with his mom because he's the oldest, with Leah. You have to say he was the one that found the mandrakes. So they were backwards and forth. He was in that struggle while they was there in the house of Laban. The struggle with who gonna have him first and who's going to be able to, be with him that night. The man was being passed around like a checkerboard. So basically, he was just. That was, to me, that was just not, in my opinion. A lot of other people would say differently. But the time that they spent with all that. Excuse me, you have to look at the time that they didn't have a chance to really be a family, a mishpachah, because they were in competition of who's going to have the most children. And even in all of that, to show you that no matter what people say, because it's, I got the first wife, the second wife, the third wife, whatever. Well, anyway, here it is, that even after all that, she was his first wife. Now, truthfully, after Raquel died, he was supposed to go into the tent of Leah. But look who he chose. His servant over Leah. He never loved Leah. He only fathered children by her. So you can imagine him being the oldest and him talking to his Ima and her expressing herself and expressing the loneliness of wanting to have a husband with her. So he took matters into his own hand. If I defile the one he will go to, then perhaps he will be pushed to go to my mama. It ain't right, by no means. But when you understand the love of a son to his Ima, then you can kind of understand why he was driven to do what he did. Once again, I'm not justifying it, and I'm not making it right. But he's the only man in the house because her husband, who she was pushed into marrying, is always with the baby sister because that's who he really loves. So you create this scenario or this situation where he has to come. I'll push him. He'll have to come to you because she won't be able to sleep with her. But it didn't work that way. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
All right, let me read the footnote to you real quick. To show you. This was sin that Reuben committed by sleeping with his Abba's wife, who was Reuben's stepmom. So Reuben lost his firstborn inheritance right. The grievous sin also happened in the renewed assembly, Corinthian Aleph 5:1, when some men were sleeping with their stepmother, as the custom of plural marriages existed in the early assemblies too. Once again, you have to understand what was going on. Until Rome removed it by force and hated it because they regarded it as Jewish. Once again, just like today, when you look over there, you don't see a lot of mixed marriages over there. I mean, not mixed marriages. You don't see a lot of polygamy over there. We're the only ones that take scripture and stuff out of context and say this was what was accepted. Once again, when you look into the writings and you really look in depth, you do not see a lot of men that operate in polygamy. And just because he gave one man that or said that doesn't mean that it meant for everybody. But everybody tend to take it, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, it was wrong. All those who hated this provision hated it. All right. Let me see. Okay. Once again, he said with his stepmom, which was wrong. Are you understanding me? Yeah. But his whole purpose was to push Yasrael away from her, so that he would go to his mom Leah. And he never did. He never did. Once again, you have to understand, that's a situation nobody wants to be in. But nowadays they say, well, they were willing. He went and he told them, and they talked, and even the wives talked, and they was down with it. So what? Yeah, they were down with it. So what they did was they had a meeting, and they basically said, because the first wife, she helps to choose the other wives. She helps choose the other wives. And nowadays, they have it where they're all living in one house. But they say they're following the right, and if they were following the right, they would follow according to Bereshit. Shema, I believe it is 20 and 10. Where that woman is supposed to have her own house, and you have to take care of her house and the house. But see, what happens is the economy and finances won't let them do it, but they still want to indulge in polygamy. But you can't take care of 3 and 4 houses, so everybody has to be in one house. That's not supposed to be. Why? Because it stirs up jealousy. Even if you're in another house, it still stirs up jealousy. But once again, we still try to match it in there and say, but it works. I'm sorry, that don't wash. You only have 24 hours in a day. 24. And half of the time, 8 hours of those are spent working. And the other, 12? How much is it? 8. How many more hours? 18, what is it? 17? Huh? 16 hours. You at home. Now you have to basically say, 1 week I'm going to be with you. The next week I'm going to be with you. Then we go back, and it's almost like a conveyor belt. This week I'll be over here. Next week I'll be over there. Then I cycle myself back around to be over here. How is that mishpachah? How can you ever and stabilize your home? You can't. You got one over there, one over here. You can't. And then if you have young boys in it or young men, and you got them in 3 different families, I don't care. You're going to have some problems. Even if it ain't with them emas, you're going to have it with them children. Because somebody's going to be like, well, why he can't be over here? I don't want you to leave. It's human nature. It is human nature. Once again, so these are things, once again, that we have to look at. And he was strict in doing it. He never gave consent, because if he had given consent, I don't believe he would have done it. I believe he would have waited. It would have been something else, but I don't believe he would have done it. Why? Because you have to understand the end of this thing, what he does. So once again, this is what happens. And it is so. And so he goes in to the concubine. And then Yasrael heard about it. Now the sons of Yaakov were 12. And we read about them who the sons of Leah were Reuben, Yaakov's Bekor, firstborn, and Shimeon, Luai, Yehuda, Issachar, and Zebulun. But look who he comes through the line of. Yehuda. You hear me? Now look, and then it says, the sons of Raquel were Joseph and Benjamin. She only had 2. The sons of Bilhah, Raquel's maidservant, were Dan, Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, were Gad, Asher. These were the sons of Yaakov who were born to him in Padan Aram. Now, once again, what many people look at as being a beautiful scenario was not. Because you have to understand, it was always something going on. And that's why now, to this day, it is always something going on with us as a mishpachah. It's always. Jealousy will always find a way in conditions that are perfect for it. And I don't know about any other one, but you want the attention of one man. That man you fall in love with and fall in love with you, you want their attention. I love the song, My Star. Though there are many stars out there, I don't have to ever beg or worry about having the attention of the man that I'm in love with. Are you understanding? I don't know if I want to have to be the stars on a belt or on a shelf. Okay, I'm a star over here, then I'm a star over here, and it's 5 stars down the line. And I come in the center. I know. I want to be the first star and only star on there. I want to take up the shelf. I want to take up the room. Are you understand? Because you have to understand, there are needs that a woman has that unless you're Superman, and ain't nobody is Superman. And even Superman couldn't do it. He was in love with Lois Lane. He was. And according to the comic books, he ended up having a child by her. But as awesome and powerful as he was, did you notice he only had one woman that he wanted to be with? One woman. And that's who he loved. Don't nobody want to be, today I'm going to pick you, tomorrow I'm going to pick you, or we're going to have to set a schedule. We ain't going to school.
Right.
We're going to have love time, but, I'm going to have to wait for next month for you. I got to be cycled in. No. As a woman, you have needs. As a woman, you have needs, and you don't want to be trying to sit up here and wait. That's what got Saul in trouble, because he had all those concubines and wives, and he couldn't do nothing with them. It was just lustful, and that was just beyond realistic. What you gonna do but go crazy in the mind with that many women? Really? That's how come he ended up letting them do what they wanted to do. Because he couldn't do anything to appease them in the area that they wanted to be appeased in or satisfied in. Are you hearing me? So what he had to do was let them begin to worship idols so that they wouldn't think about that part of their relationship. Are you following me?
Yes.
Another reason I can show you they were not satisfied, and you can see when people are not satisfied is when people start rapidly gaining weight or losing it, and they're in a relationship. You know why? Because there is something missing. There's something missing. And you tend to take whatever's going to pacify you because you cannot be satisfied. This is why, once again, you should never get in a relationship, and you should never get into something you don't know nothing about what you're getting into. Or they're going to go and cheat. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So it's important that you understand, when he created male and female, and when he took Chava out of the side of Adam and presented her to him, he didn't present him 2 and 3 wives. He presented him 1. Why? Because she would be a handful and enough. I promise you, you get the right woman in your corner and on your side, she will be more than enough. She will be the baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker, the financial counselor. She'll be all of that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
I understand. I understand the song to a degree that Aretha Franklin sung, I'm every woman, it's all in me. Are you understanding me? You have to understand the concept of that song. I'm not every woman, but I can do just about everything or anything any woman can do. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
You want her to be those things. You ain't got 5, because if you got one woman that only has one attribute, yes, you don't have to have a bunch of them to make up the characteristics of one good woman. Something wrong with that picture.
Right.
Because when you have a woman that can balance the books, that can make sure the house is taken care of, that can make sure you're satisfied, make sure everything you need done, and then when you ain't got but nickels and pennies to work with, still can squeeze $1 out of that, you don't need nobody else. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Feed a family with $1. Be able to maintain the shalom, even when chaos is supposed to be in the midst. Are you understanding me? When things are going on that shouldn't be, still be able to maintain. Why? Because it's the power of Yahuwah that does it. You do Yahuwah disservice when you say you got to have all them women for what you think you have to have for. He knows how to produce one woman.
Right.
Yes, he does. And he knows how to close it and make it go to sleep, and he knows how to wake it up. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Never underestimate him. Never.
I got one.
Never underestimate him. All right. Let's read, please. 27, 28, and 29, and then chapter 36 and 43. So you have 5 verses.
Starting from verse 27. Then Yaakov came to his father Isaac at Mamre and Kereth, Arba that is in Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. So Isaac breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, being old and full of days, and his sons Esau and Yaakov buried him. 36, verse
43.
Chief Magdiel and Chief Aram, these are the chiefs of Edom, according of their dwelling places in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Once again, Chief Magdiel and Chief Aram, these are the chiefs of Edom, according to the dwelling places in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the Abba of the Edomites. All the different Jordan people. And it is so. All right, now let us turn our attention to the readings of our Haftarah in Obadiah chapter 1. We have 21 verses that we're going to read. Once again, when we look in the writings, we see so many things. We have a diverse culture. And what I mean by diverse, you can read love stories, you can read all kinds of mysteries, novels. You don't have to go nowhere, just open up the writings. It's all in there. You can read it all. It's all in there. Life stories. I mean, you read about heartache and pain. You read about victory. You read about defeat. We can read about everything. And one thing about it, you have to understand that same blood that flows in them flows in us. And that's why it's important that we govern ourselves accordingly. And it is so.
And it is so.
Page 912. And it is so. And we'll start at verse 1 and read to 21. So we can read
Chapter 1.
Huh?
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's read 4.
Okay. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 1 through 4, and it reads, The vision of Obadiah. Thus says the power Yahuwah concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the nations. Arise and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made you small among nations. You are greatly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you. You that dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that says in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? Though you exalt yourself as the eagle, and though you set your nest among the stars, there will I bring you down, says Yahuwah. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, he's talking about this is talking about Jordan and Saudi Arabia with the Islamic Empire. Edom is a reference not just to Jordan, but to all the Islamic nations. So that lets you know they are not European, contrary to belief, because Islam believers are not European.
Right.
They are not. So once again, that allows us to know and understand. Don't look towards the European. You have to understand, I believe the Europeans were a switch. Just like how Yahuwah would allow the Assyrians, Babylon, when our ancestors went into Babylonian captivity, he would allow certain people to rise up and become that switch to whip us for us to come back into his truth. And so I believe that they were just used as a means to whoop us back in place. Because remember, when you read in the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and even in Vayikra chapter 27, I believe it is. It's either 26 or 27 when it talks about our enemies, and it talks about a people, even in Deuteronomy chapter 28, about a people we didn't even know, and that what we were going to go through because of their disobedience was going to be something that we had never gone through before. You have to understand, we experienced slavery until we got out and was scattered. And so this is where you start seeing the harsh treatment and stuff that he said would happen. He said, you will marry a wife and somebody else will lie with her. That's what they did in slavery. And even now, you ain't even in that slavery, but it still takes place. Even now, you start looking at people talking about, because the European man, he got this, he got that. You start thinking, yeah, but he's a part of the curse. I truly believe. Because once again, you set up and you say, well, I'm going to be with this person, I'm going to be with that person. Then next thing you know, they're marrying our people. Now, people say, well, that's being racist. I can't be racist, honey, because I can't stop you from doing anything. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
But once again, when you come in and you mess with the bloodline, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. That's how come it's amazing. But if you've ever gone on, what is the site? Ancestry.com, which really I don't like using them, but they're the only ones that I know of. And if anybody knows any way where you can look up Ibram, where you can track Ibram history and know your from the DNA and all that good stuff, I would love to find it. But Ancestry.com is the one you have to use, and they are what, Mormons, right? They are Mormons, Europeans. So basically, the reason why they have such a good tab on us, they had us. That's how they know who we are and what we were and where we came from, because they kept tabs on us. So the thing of it is, you have to go back. They're not stupid. They know, and they have a record of their own lives. They know what they were doing. So what they do, they teach them how to get in and do what they've been doing. It's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. So once again, it's important that we understand they benefit from it because they take the bloodline, and not only that, they keep their people going. Because it takes something like, 5 generations. If they marry a Ibram person and that person is a half-breed, then they marry a European. It takes 3 generations to basically get that Ibram blood out. 8. So once again, all they got to do is have a son, and he married their children. They continue. Well, guess what? They continue to populate and grow their culture, while our culture continually dies. Are you understanding?
Yes.
That's the curse. And we got to wake up to that. I know people won't like it and say, but you just know I'm not. I'm telling you straight truth.
That's right.
Facts change. Truth doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't. So once again, it's important that we understand that. Once again, he's talking about, we're going to look at Esau, and he's looking at Edom. Now, let's look at, you read verses 4? All right. Now, once again, it's talking about Edom. All right, let's read 5, 6, 7, and 8 for me.
If these came to you, if robbers by night, how are you cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of your confederacy have brought you even to the border. The men that were at Shalom with you have deceived you and prevailed against you. They that eat your lehem have laid a wound under you. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, says Yahuwah, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mouth of Esau?
It is so. Now, once again, all the men of your confederacy, that's some of the Islamic nation. Also, when you look at there is none understanding in him. Muslim leaders conspire against each other for tit for tat, killing. So once again, you see it prevalently, but once again, our focus is taken off of those who are really the Islamic nation, which is the Arabs, and a lot of them married also into with the Muslim. So you got a mixed nation, and so this is why you see them of darker color skin and them of light color skin, but you don't see no Europeans over there. But that's the whole thing, is to keep us off track, believing who is who. So the first thing they start saying is, well, look what they have, and look at how they did this, and look at how they done that. And the first thing people say is that this must be them. Esau is Europeans. No, he is not. No, he's not. Because you do not see Europeans being Muslims. Now, they'll fake and try to be Ibram, but they don't try to fake and be Muslims. I've not seen any. And it is so. He says, shall I not in that day, says Yahuwah, even shall the wise man out of him and understanding out of the mount of Esau. Now, once again, out of Esau. The mount of Esau and Edom are both figurative references and today literal land masses that are occupied by Muslims. These areas show us that these are the end-time armies that are encamped round about Yisrael to conduct the final battle. We have yet to see when Yahuwah calls forth and God, which is Turkey, will come into action and then start leading the Islamic world towards this goal of the great battle. Right now, Turkey and Iran have made inroads to distance themselves from Israel or Yisrael, which shows us that prophecy is going along smoothly. Just as in the writings that these two nations will distance themselves from Arabia, and in the end will attack it also to bring about the destruction of the harlot of Babylon, though they are not necessarily the ones to destroy her, but other Muslim nations will take part in that, where the U.S., and that's where the U.S. and the U.K. and other allied forces will be fully involved because of the large quantity of oil in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's what you call black gold. That's what Bush went and secured for himself when he was in office. That's why he had all them soldiers over there, because he was securing his oil, because he wanted to make sure that he had his stuff. So once again, we have to understand that once again, a lot of people don't like when I say this, but people say we're in Babylon. We're not in Babylon. Babylon is not a figurative place. It is a real geographical place. And it is not here in America. This is the land of our enemies. Once again, you have to understand what it means to be a captive. We may not get everything we want, but we are not captive. Captives cannot go anywhere. You can't go across the border. You cannot go to another state, another city. You are stuck and confined to that one area. We are not like that. Only problems we have here in this place of our enemy is always having to strive with people to get what we need and want. That's an enemy. But Babylon was a place of constriction and restriction, or restrictions. You couldn't go nowhere. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't even have a means to get around. You could buy whatever car you want if you have the money. Right. You can go wherever you want if you have the money. You can live in places, though they may torture you and torment you, but you can still get in there. Yeah, right. You can leave your house at 3 o'clock in the morning and not be pulled over and asked. Now, some folk might be pulled over and asked, depending on the condition where you're going. But for the most of us, we can leave 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Ain't nobody stopping you. There are no roadblocks. You don't have to flash a card or something saying you have a right to be outside. You have a right to be in this zone. You have a right to be in this area. See, when you start looking at places and looking at movies like, what is it, the Mockingbird? Hunger Games. Hunger Games. When you start looking at Hunger Games and you start looking at how they divided, these are how they began to recolonize the people because of all that had taken place. You have to understand what takes place when you're in captivity. This is how they start recolonizing folk. Are you understanding me? Where they start saying, well, we're going to put the dark ones here, the older ones, and the dark and older, and their families here. Then we're going to put the other ones here. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Then what we're going to do, we're going to go through a process of elimination. And those that stay and be here, they will not be able to do anything but what we require of them or command them to do. Once again, you have to understand what it means to be a captive versus what it means to deal with your enemies. They don't have us captive here. We can leave and go anywhere we want to. You can leave here and go to Indonesia. You can leave here and go to Africa. You can leave here and go to Germany. You can leave here and go anywhere you want to go. China. Anywhere you want to go around the globe. Alaska, you're not forbidden. Not yet. So once again, we can't keep saying this is not Babylon. Right. Babylon is not a figurative place. It is a literal place on the map. It is a literal place, and it's nowhere near where we are. That's why we have to understand geographical locations. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
All right, and it is so. All right, let's read. Let's read. Let's read. Let's read forward.
And your mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For your violence against your brother Yaakov, shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. In the day that you stood on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive forces and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even you were as one of them. But you should not have looked on the day of your brother, in the day that he became a foreigner. Neither should you have rejoiced over the children of Yahudah in the day of their destruction. Neither should you have spoken proudly in the day of stress. And it is so.
And it is so. Radicals are marked by Yahuwah for death unless they repent and turn to him. World War III, Unmasking the End Time Beast. This is one of the books that I am looking to get. I have excerpts from it, and I have read it. And I'm telling you, it is some phenomenal stuff in there. And it was written by Rabbi Simon Altaf. Now, a lot of stuff he's written and he's basically rebuttal and redone. But if you notice, you don't hear anything from him. You don't. You know why? Because he came out running real good and hard for us as a people. And he got over there and got to mess around with them Khazars and the Ashkenazis over there. And I believe that they began to basically start speaking into his ear. And now you don't hear nothing from it. At one time, you could hear, he put this up, he put that up, and he did this and he did that. Now you don't hear anything from him. But he wrote it, and I got excerpts from it, and it's really good. And it puts land masses and people together, and it shows. And in the right time, when Yahuwah releases me, he's going to allow me to bring forth those things, because these are things we need to know. See, because one thing about it, if you're in a place, the only way to get home is you got to know where you are. Right. And unless you know where you are, you cannot know how to get home. And that's one of the things. If you tell people they're in a certain place, then you can mess up the history. Not only the history, you can mess up the present state. Because if I'm saying I'm in this place and this is not really it, then I'm expecting what follows after me being in this place to take place. Right. Can't happen if I am wrongfully diagnosing and saying I'm in a place that I'm not. Right. This is where problems come up, because then you go only look for stuff that's going to be surrounded, that speaks on the place you are in, which therefore makes you off and makes it wrong, because if we're not in that place, then that what follows that is going to be off, because you can't follow that if you're not in that place. Sure. That makes sense. All right. Now, once again, it's important that we understand that. But he wrote it. And on the other hand, the violence of the Palestinian Muslims is predicted also and goes hand in hand to plant bombs and become suicide bombers to shed innocent blood in the name of their God, Allah. Now, Yashiyah 59:7. Their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts of iniquity, weight, and destruction are in their paths. Now, once again, it's important that we understand what's taking place. We see these things already happen. Please show me a European suicide bomber. There are none. Are you understanding me? And if they do get in there, Only reason why they get in there is because they're in sales that are truly not true to what they're called to. Anybody ever seen American Assassin?
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, they did not trust him, and they were getting ready to smoke him like salmon up in that room until the Americans came in and rescued him. They didn't trust him. He said, "I don't trust you." He said, "Because I don't trust your eyes." It is harder to get into those sales than people believe. People think, "Oh yeah, you can get it." No, you cannot. You have to understand, anything that's real and vinyl like that is will always have dummy sales.
Yeah.
Dummy sales. And so I'm going to leave that alone. Okay? But once again, we need to understand. We need to understand. And it is so. All right. Now, Islam, Shalom, or peace. There is a play on words here. The Ibram word used for violence is Hamas. Hamas.
That's Hebrew.
Hamas. No. Hamas. Yes, Hamas.
That's Hebrew. That's not Islamic.
There is a word. Yeah. I'm sorry. There is a play on words. Here, the Ibram word used for violence is Hamas. Used for violence is Hamas. Are you heard of it before?
Yeah, Hamas is those radical extremists over there now. So they're doing it in the name of unless there's like they're probably close to a Muslim word too. Maybe I'm thinking.
It says, interestingly, that a prophet would speak of this group to come in Yisrael, whose sole purpose is to terrorize and kill the Ibram people to capture their lands. The Hamas faction or terrorism was funded by the late Yasser Arafat, and we know that prophet Obadiah does not speak about the Roman Empire, but rather speaks specially about the Islamic end times empire that is going to do extreme violence against Yisrael. Yahuwah is going to judge it for his pride, arrogance, and bloodshed that it has caused to his brother Yisrael. And the rest of the world is not safe either, as it too faces this type of violence in their lives if they make a stand with Yisrael or with Yahuwah of Yisrael. So once again, that automatically removes Roman Catholicism and the Europeans. Rome, period. But once again, we are always made to believe to follow that path, so to always keep us off. Once again, if you don't know where you are located and what's going on, you will never know where you are moving to or where you're supposed to go.
Right.
That's important for us to understand. Once again, it's politics in this too.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's read.
Verse 13. You should not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yes, you should have not looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should you have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that escaped. Neither should you have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of Yahuwah is near upon all the nations, as you have done. It shall be done to you. Your reward shall return upon your own head. For as you have drunk upon my set-apart mountain, so shall all the nations drink continually. Yes, they shall drink, they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. And it is so.
And it is so. Once again, look at what they did, how they stood in the way. And look how they do now. They've taken the land, and those that are over there, you have to understand, even though the Ashkenazis and the Karaites are over there, they can't do nothing over there because the Muslims got it. That's why they have a mosque right on the place that one of the temples was, and they can't even go there. They just got it up there just for the hell of it. And all they do over there is play soccer and play, but they will not allow anybody to go over there. So once again, don't be fooled by what the media shows you. Islam basically has that territory over there. They have it. I had asked somebody about the barley season, especially when we are following and celebrating Peshat, which is coming up soon in the spring season. And I asked them, I said, do you all have? They said, no, we don't. It said, it's really hard. Why? Because the land has been occupied by Muslims. They ain't trying to grow no barley. And then the little place they did have, they say it's so far out in a remote place, can't nobody really get out there. Because Muslims won't let them pass to get there. So once again, you have to understand, you can't let the media fool you into believing what you see. They want you to see what they want you to see so they can continue to keep us in a state of derision and in a state of illusion.
That's right.
So it's important that we remember that. All right, now, once again, they stood in the way and they moved. Won't let them go over there. Won't let us go to a place of safety. They're constantly moving and trying to make sure we don't get over there. Are you understanding?
Yes.
All right. Once again, it's important that we understand these things. And he says, verse 16, they shall drink and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. As though they had not been. Once again, you got to understand when Yahuwah does it, it's done.
Yep.
These are several mosques on the Temple Mount which show us that Yahuwah is saying the nations here, meaning Islam, Islamic ones, are drunk in their idolatry on the Temple Mount, and he will have them removed one day when in verse 21, saviors who come up will put the mosque down. These are Western nations who will get involved in the great war to come, such as the UK and USA mentioned numerous times in the writings. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Once again, we see the things going on over there. The thing we have to understand is who this is referring to, and don't put the wrong people in the wrong place. But you have to understand too. I will say this: there is going to be an alliance made, and when that alliance is made, it's going to rattle people because they're not going to believe. It's almost like the same two unlikely bedfellows. Two unlikely bedfellows. It's going to be, and it's not going to be a long time, but there's going to be an alliance made. And for a minute, people will look at it and say, well, you know, it is everything going on. But you better know when that alliance is made, that's when you're going to really see the cover come off of this thing. And it is so.
It is so.
And it is so. All right. Let us finish reading.
But unto Mount Zion shall be deliverance, that should be set apartness. In the house of Yaakov shall possess their possessions. In the house of Yaakov shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph for flame, in the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for who has spoken. And they say of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Plishtim. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Shamaron, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of the armies of the children of Yashrael shall possess that of the Canaanites, even to Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sephirah, shall possess the cities of the south. And it is so.
Now, once again, look at what's being said here. And we're going to look at the south. Look at that footnote. Zarephath and Sephirah are future forwarded prophecies of nations such as Spain and France who will be involved in this action. Once again, everything is pointing towards that time even now. That's why we don't have time to be slipping up and messing up. We don't. Because you don't know when you're going to hear that alarm and you thinking it's a tornado, and it ain't got nothing to do with a tornado, but it has everything to do with war is upon us. Are you understanding? Yes. So once again, we need to always stay plugged in and walk in this life the way we're supposed to. Verse 21 says, and Savior shall come up on Mount Tyson to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahuwah's. Once again, it's important that we understand prophecy that is taking place and prophecy that is still yet to take place. Two main nations alongside others such as the UK and the USA will come down and pull down the mosque. So once again, it's important that we understand what's taking place and how all this is going to correlate. But the number one thing is walking in truth and making sure that we're living the life so that we don't have to worry about being outside of that truth. And when judgment falls, we will be safe.
That's right.
We'll be in that place of safety. And so, all right, let us turn our attention to the last topic and for today, coming from our Brit Hadasha, which is from the book of Ibram, chapter 11, and we're going to read 11 to 20. Chapter 11, 11 through 20. All right, come on.
Through belief also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and it was delivered of a child when she was past her childbearing age, because she judged him diligent who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so as many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore in number.
And so, all right, 13 and 14.
These all died in belief, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
And it is so. Now, look, these all died in belief, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. They realized, when you read in the book of Ibram, which a lot of people call the book of Hebrews, you understand that this book is really tailored to really help us as a people to see so much more about us.
That's right.
Vivid, broad scope of truth for us as a people. And so you're looking at all the matriarchs and patriarchs of belief. One thing about it, they saw a portion of, they were able to handle a portion of it. They saw all of it, but they were only able to handle a portion of it. Are you understanding?
Yes.
And so they died seeing and knowing these things, but only were able to experience a portion of it because they didn't get to see it in its entirety.
Right.
But they continued to believe. All right?
Yes.
All right, let's read.
Timothy?
You read 12, 13? You read 12,
Yes.
13? Okay, come on, 14, 15.
For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from where they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned.
Now, hold that thought. Christianity always made us believe that this was a spiritual place. A spiritual place. But you have to understand, it is a general location. Once again, they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they have been mindful of that country from where they came out, they might have had opportunity to return. Understand, it is a geographical place that we're looking to go to. Are you understanding me?
Yes. Yes.
We're looking to go back home to Yisrael, to be able to see the city of Jerusalem. So it's important that we understand he is talking about a definite place. But we've always taught to believe that it was a spiritual place. No, they're talking about from where they got removed from. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Where we were removed from. All right. To have returned. To return to something means you have been there what? Before.
That's right.
If I go to Georgia, it is not my first time going. I'm what? Returning to Georgia. If I go to Baltimore or not New York, but Baltimore is because I'm going there for the first time. So I'm not returning there. I'm going there for the first time.
That's right.
Okay? All right. Let's read.
But now we desire a better country that is a heavenly image. Who is not ashamed to be called their power, for he has prepared them a city.
And that city is where? Jerusalem. That's the city. Are you understanding?
Yes.
All right, let's read. 17, 18.
By belief, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. He that had received the promises offered up his only unique son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall your seed be called. And it is so.
And it is so. By belief, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only unique son. So here we see, believe, they believed it. Because you have to understand, they had an expectation that they were not going to just die and not come back. They had an expectation, we're going home.
That's right.
We got a place we're going to occupy, so we ain't even worry about this, because all we know is what he said, and that's what we're focusing on. Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall your seed be called. Now, once again, you have to understand, he had to believe him against his own logical understanding. Because you would ask the question, how is he going to be the father or the Abba of many nations, and I have to kill him? He had to believe that if he did, that some way Yahuwah will bring him back and still bring this thing to fruition. That's the belief that we strive for each and every day. That belief that says, I'm not going to apply logic to where logic is not needed.
That's right.
Because if he went with logic at the helm, he would have never went to the mountain.
That's right.
He would have never took it. He would remain at home.
That's right.
And it is so. All right, let's read.
Accounting that Yahuwah was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from where also he received him in the figure. By belief, Isaac, Baruch, Jacob, and Esau concerning things to come.
And it is so. Accounting that Yahuwah was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from where also he received him in a figure. Once again, also he received him, so it's important that we understand he already saw these things. Belief says, I see it and I hold on to it even before it's made tangible to me. See, once again, we got to learn to use belief, because at first we were not using belief, we were walking in faith. Now, I know a lot of people thinking, well, that don't make sense. Yes, it does. I'm going to let you meditate on that a little bit. But you have to understand, it is in our belief that we trust him. It is in belief that we hold on and have an expectation of what he's going to do and which promised of us to make it tangible unto us. And so, by belief, Yaakov, when he was dying with both the sons of Joseph and worship, okay, we're not going too far. By belief, Isaac, Baruch, Yaakov, and Esau concerning things to come. Now, once again, it's important that we understand who was Baruch and who was not. It was Yaakov who was Baruch, not Esau. Because you have to understand there was only one Baruch for that. And so, once again, we see things that are in. Esau could not be Baruch because he had sold what he was supposed to get a Baruch for. Are you understanding? So once again, you have to see where the thread of this line of understanding continues to follow. Once again, he didn't get no Baruch because he sold his for a bowl of soup. All right, let's read. Verse 21 is our last verse.
By belief, Yaakov, when he was dying, burned both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, laying upon the top of his staff.
And it is so. Once again, by belief, Isaac, Baruch, Yaakov, and Esau concerning things to come. By belief, Yaakov, when he was dying, Baruch both the sons of Joseph and worshiped, leaning upon the top of his staff. Once again, it's important for us, excuse me, to understand the time we're in and even understand where we're going, why we are preparing the way we're preparing, because we have an expectation of where we're going. and what is it going to take for us to get there. Once again, it is truly important for us to follow that. And that's why I believe that you have to have a regimen. We have to have a outline, and it's already outlined in the writings of where we're going and what it's going to take for us to get there. And the thing that we're supposed to do is follow it.
That's right.
It's follow it. If you follow anything outside of that, you ain't going to make it. Somebody tell you at 5 o'clock, you need to be down here at the dock because the ship or the yacht is going to be pulling out. If you're not there at that time because you don't have all that what you need, you're going to miss it.
That's right.
And therefore, you're going to be what? Lost. Left and lost. So once again, I don't want to be left, and I truly don't want to be lost. I don't want to be away and then turn around and still be lost and left struggling because of disobedience. Once again, you have to understand, he's dealing with us in ways and in manners that's not like everybody else. And I'm talking about as a whole, us as a people. And this is why we need to maintain in that position, because there are things on the horizon that we need to prepare for. And then there are some things, the only thing we can do is listen for his instructions and never get ahead of him. And it is so. And it is so. At this time, I'm going to open the floor briefly for those who have comments and who have questions. If you have a question or a comment, please make it known now. If not, everybody's good.
Well, briefly, while we're waiting on questions or whatever. Good lesson taught as always, good delivery. And even as you were touching on the subject of polygamy, you have so many people that, like I said, divided in our way concerning this. But one of the key things that you find is, as you've already outlined, like say just simply everybody wants to be happy. And and we begin to look at the scriptures, and you start looking at even if you go according to the law, first things when Yahuwah created Adam and Chava, he only created them two. He didn't create him, her, and he put him with 2 or 3 other women to help keep the garden. He just put them, and he said, "This cause shall a man leave his even cleave to his wife, not to his concubine." And so, just because things may have been allowed or that were permitted at that time, because if you want to go back to that, we might as well go back to stoning. We might as well go back to a lot of other things that were permitted during that time as well. So it's it's kind of like, well, where do you draw the line? Just because something happened, and then like you said, when you begin to look at how even initially when it was begun, it was through deceit.
Right.
And you start thinking it was a deceitful practice, and you want to kind of keep it going. Why?
Right.
And so, and anybody wants to use the excuse for one to do it so that we can multiply. There's like almost 7 billion people in the world right now.
Yeah.
I think the world is good. And if anything, at this point, and then it want to say, well, we need so we can multiply our people. You and I have 9 children. 1 man, 1 woman, 9 kids. 9 children. We don't have kids because we don't have ghosts. But and so yeah, ghost. But anyway, but and so anybody wants to use that. If you have more than 1 wife and you don't have more children than we have, just quit. I mean, just quit if you fail. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. And so there's no scriptural precedent for it. There's no command or where instruction given by the Allah, because we find that everybody wants to try to make it. They try to make it law, but transgression, sin is a transgression of His law and His instructions. Yahuwah has not instructed us to take more than 1 wife.
That's right.
And then for everybody that wants to, when they see a woman teaching, everybody wants to run to Timothy. Then, since you want to quote Rabbi Shaul, let's also quote what Rabbi Shaul said, that every man have his own wife and every woman have her own husband. So if you want to quote him right.
That's right.
Don't just take part of it. Don't just pick and choose. Right? Now you're cherry picking. And so you're going to walk in the full maturity of it. And that's why everybody wants to come with all this wheat cheese pack of dumb stuff, talking about what a woman shouldn't do. If you're gonna walk in it, eat the whole roll.
That's
if
right.
You're gonna do it, and take it all. And stop trying to have fulfill your life, trying to have more than one wife. Now you're trying to just be a pimp in Hebrew. And
Right.
just you can do it so that you can say, well, it ain't fornications because I can go here and go there. Because after a while, one thing about lust is never satisfied.
Nope.
So then eventually you're gonna try to have 8, 9. And here's the interesting thing: why is it many of us melanated people in this walk are trying to run to polygamy? And when you start looking, they did a TV show. What the Europeans doing? They running from it.
Right.
And helping each other escape out of it. And we're the ones that's awakened. They're running from it. We're running to it. But that's because they're in error. That's because they're in error. Really? They're in error. And they're running from a system. And everybody talking about they ain't having it. For the women that do, I liken them unto, I have to quote from Men in Black. Like I say, now you're acting like a dog that's been beat too much and not enough. Because you have a lot of people that allow themselves to fall into a system. There's a movie that we saw a while back where basically it's like one of the post-apocalyptic movies where these people, that everything was destroyed above ground. These people found themselves in a bomb-safe area underground. There were supplies, different things like that. There was a woman down there that while as everyone was all in survival mode, everybody's okay, we got to work together. After a while, the social order began to deteriorate, and there were some guys that tried to take the lead, or they kind of branched off and said had their own little band of bad boys that they wanted to do whatever they wanted to do. And so while they did that, one lady, as her survival coping method, allowed herself to be taken by them for them to do whatever. And when another lady was trying to tell you, you need to stand and you don't need to let them do that, she's like, no, you shut up. You just, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And they ended up killing her. And so the one who ended up standing her ground was the one that ended up actually surviving. In fact, she was the last survivor. And so you find that these people do it as a survival tactic because a lot of times these women are too weak-minded. And that's their strength because, I can be a sister wife. That makes me a strong woman. No, that makes you weak. That's what makes you weak. And then you find a lot of these men, especially you find a lot of the brothers that's running off to Europeans. They want someone who is able to who's docile and able to be dominated. And a lot of these weak, sad, melanated brothers that want to sit up there and always want to talk about that. Well, they too loud, they too this, they too that. If she stopped doing this, she could do that. You stop being a punk, you can handle it.
That's right. That's
stop
true.
Being a pump the brakes. If you stop being a fish, you can handle it. But the thing is, they want to run to this, and then they find that a lot of the women that they're able to take as these so-called sister wives are the ones that if you tell them that the sky is yellow, they'll say, okay, that's my king, the sky is yellow. They want someone who's mindless, brainless, spineless, and don't have a will of their own, instead of someone who's able to think and have critical thinking skills to be able to help them in life and be a partner in life than a pet. And don't nobody. I mean, you mistreat your pets, or some people treat their pets better than their family. So, and so especially Europeans, so they kiss them, lick them, and share your food with them. That's nasty as ham. So, and literally, ham. But it's filthy and it's forbidden. But Laura, thank you for the teaching. Well done, well taught, well put forward. Got a lot of good responses, and fortunately today it seemed like all the stupid people stayed home. Right. And so Torah, all stupid people staying home. But again, like I said, it was well taught, and again, it just allows us to see that when we follow in the instructions, and like I said, the scripture tells us, him that hath an ear, let him hear what the Ruach is saying. Oh, HaKodesh, not in Ruach, but the Ruach HaKodesh is saying unto the people, the chosen people. So when we're led by his Ruach, then we'll follow in his instructions.
That's
right.
right.
We don't have to worry about the deviant behavior that comes along with it.
That's right.
And it is so what I'm saying.
Anybody?
Earlier when there was brother John from E. Greer, he was in. He said told out for the services that you share and told out for the prayers.
Anybody?
We had different Shabbat Shalom.
Okay.
Over time, some of them more than
Okay.
we didn't have Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, good. All right. At this time, we're going to go ahead on and dismiss, and then you give them to us afterwards. Okay. Once again, I want to say to you, Todah, for coming and being a part of Sabbath class, as Yahuwah is taking us into a time of recovery, restoration, and then revival. We want to maintain and make sure we're in the position as we're recovered that he can begin to restore us to our natural shine. Anybody knows anything about silver? Silver, when it is tarnished, it gets all black, and he's like, thinking, this ain't good for nothing but a throwaway. But if you understand real silver, you understand it has to go through a polishing time, a time that you have to recover it, shine, to clean it. And so we're in that time. He's recovering us, and he's polishing us up, preparing us so that we can shine as his people. So it's important that we understand the methods and the tools that we need so that we're able to do what we need to do. You just don't put anything on silver. You have to get a certain cloth to get it. You have to have certain chemicals for it, so that as you're cleaning it, you're getting where all of the what is it though? Not rust. What's that? The lime when it tarnishes silver.
It's the oxidation. The metal oxidizes.
When the metal oxidizes, that's what makes it so ugly. But then when you get it and clean it up, you talking about beautiful. It is beautiful. Pure silver, it's gorgeous. And so this is what Yahuwah is doing for us as his people. He's cleaning us up so that we will shine. Shine and be beautiful as his people, children of power. So I want to encourage your hearts on today, this Sabbath. I pray Abba Yah will continue to baruch you, continue to give you his shalom, and that you rest well this Sabbath. And that what you're learning, you will take it and apply it to your life. Once again, we love you. We're praying with you. We're praying for you. I want to say Todah for all of the shaloms, Shabbat shaloms, for all the love and the prayers that you send towards us. We send them back to you 1,000-fold. And once again, I want to say to you here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread and Wheat Ministries, this is the place where
The Torah does the body good.
Until next time, may Abba Yah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. And it is so. Also, remember, you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.